She doesn't wait for validation. She doesn't compromise for approval. She doesn't let fear or expectation dictate her choices. She chooses herself. And the psychology behind this choice is far deeper than confidence. It is self-mastery, resilience, and unapologetic authenticity. This is the journey, the mindset, and the inner power of a woman who chooses herself. Understanding the concept of choosing yourself is more than independence or selfishness. It is prioritizing your own needs, values, and growth without guilt. Women who choose themselves have experienced moments when compromise, fear, or people-pleasing threaten their authenticity. They understand that neglecting personal priorities leads to resentment, stagnation, or burnout. Choosing oneself is a conscious psychological decision to honor personal boundaries, aspirations, and emotional well-being before anyone else's expectations. Oprah Winfrey embodies this principle. Her life demonstrates the transformative power of prioritizing personal integrity and purpose, even under immense external pressure. Recognizing patterns that require change. Many women only realize the importance of choosing themselves after repeated compromise. Early patterns often include tolerating disrespect, overextending to please others, or suppressing desires for acceptance. Recognizing these patterns is psychological self-awareness. It is the first step in breaking cycles that compromise self-worth. Once awareness emerges, change becomes intentional rather than reactive. Women like Michelle Obama have spoken about reflecting on personal boundaries and understanding when self-sacrifice conflicts with core values. This recognition fuels the decision to choose oneself consistently. Reclaiming self-worth. A woman who chooses herself has cultivated a deep sense of self-worth. She understands that value is inherent and not dependent on approval, love, or recognition from others. This internal validation is critical because it prevents external forces from dictating decisions. Reclaiming self-worth often involves confronting internalized messages from past experiences, childhood conditioning, failed relationships, or societal expectations that undermine confidence. Brené Brown emphasizes that self-worth is essential to resilience. Without it, prioritizing oneself can feel selfish or uncomfortable. A woman who chooses herself anchors decisions in self-respect rather than insecurity. The psychology of boundary setting. Choosing oneself requires boundaries. Boundaries are not barriers. They are expressions of self-respect and emotional intelligence. Psychologically, they protect mental health and prevent emotional depletion. Women who choose themselves understand that boundaries are signals to others about what is acceptable, not weapons of confrontation. Angela Bassett has spoken about maintaining clear boundaries in her career and personal life, demonstrating that consistent enforcement protects energy and fosters empowerment. Boundaries communicate autonomy and reduce the likelihood of repeating patterns of compromise or over-accommodation. Prioritizing emotional needs. A woman who chooses herself acknowledges her emotions, validates her feelings, and acts to preserve psychological well-being. She understands that suppressing emotions for others' comfort erodes self-respect and fosters internal conflict. Emotional prioritization does not mean ignoring others. It means cultivating awareness and care for one's own state before making decisions or sacrifices. Emotional self-care strengthens resilience, enhances clarity, and allows for healthier interactions. Serena Williams has emphasized the importance of mental and emotional self-care alongside physical preparation, showing the holistic nature of self-prioritization. Releasing guilt and fear. Many women hesitate to choose themselves due to guilt, fear of rejection, or societal judgment. The psychology of self-prioritization involves releasing these emotions. Guilt often arises from conditioned expectations to please family, partners, or society, while fear stems from uncertainty or potential conflict. Emotional intelligence allows women to recognize that prioritizing themselves is necessary, not selfish. Emma Watson has discussed overcoming fear of judgment while pursuing activism, illustrating that self-choice involves courage and clarity. Releasing guilt and fear allows autonomous, values-aligned decisions. Learning to say no without apology. A central aspect of choosing oneself is the ability to say no. Women conditioned to over-accommodate or people-please may struggle initially. Saying no is a psychological skill that reinforces boundaries, asserts personal priorities, and conserves emotional energy. It signals self-respect without aggression. Adele has spoken about using discretion and assertiveness in personal decisions, demonstrating the balance between empathy for others and commitment to self. No longer explaining or apologizing for prioritizing oneself is a sign of psychological maturity. Building self-trust. Self-trust is the foundation of choosing oneself. Women must develop confidence in their judgment, instincts, and capacity to navigate life independently. Trauma, past mistakes, or manipulative experiences often erode self-trust. Rebuilding it requires deliberate action, making decisions, observing outcomes, learning from experiences, and internalizing reliability. Beyoncé has described relying on intuition in both career and personal life, illustrating that self-trust allows decisive and authentic choices. A woman who trusts herself is psychologically resilient and less dependent on validation. Cultivating a growth mindset. Choosing oneself requires embracing a growth mindset, the belief that one can evolve, learn, and overcome obstacles. Women who cultivate this mindset see challenges as opportunities rather than threats. J.K. Rowling's journey exemplifies the power of resilience and self-efficacy. Psychological flexibility allows women to adapt decisions without fear of failure or judgment. Growth-oriented thinking supports continual self-prioritization because women understand that setbacks are temporary and lessons are integral to empowerment. Embracing solitude as a source of strength. The psychology of women who choose themselves includes comfort with solitude. Being alone allows reflection, introspection, and emotional recalibration without distraction or pressure. Solitude fosters autonomy, strengthens identity, and nurtures creativity. Adele and Malala Yousafzai have demonstrated periods of intentional solitude as essential to their growth and self-assertion. Women who are comfortable alone make decisions from clarity rather than fear, enhancing the authenticity and permanence of their glow. Prioritizing purpose over approval. Choosing oneself requires aligning actions with purpose rather than seeking external approval. Women who prioritize personal mission, values, or passion experience fulfillment that cannot be dictated by others. Oprah Winfrey emphasizes that true success comes from internal alignment rather than societal expectation. When purpose guides decisions, women make choices that reflect integrity and ambition, reinforcing autonomy and self-prioritization. Purpose-driven action is psychologically empowering because it anchors self-worth in internal metrics rather than external feedback. Rewriting the relationship with fear. Fear often dictates decisions. Fear of rejection, failure, or loneliness. Choosing oneself requires rewriting this relationship with fear, seeing it as a signal rather than a command. Psychologically, fear becomes a tool for awareness and caution rather than restriction. Women like Emma Watson and Beyoncé illustrate how confronting fear enhances confidence and independence. The act of consistently choosing oneself despite fear strengthens neural pathways associated with courage, autonomy, and self-efficacy. Practicing mindfulness and self-awareness. Mindfulness is crucial for women who choose themselves. Being aware of thoughts, emotions, and impulses allows deliberate decision-making rather than reactive behavior. Emotional self-regulation enhances the ability to honor personal priorities while interacting empathetically with others. Mindfulness reduces impulsivity, strengthens boundaries, and reinforces internal validation. Brené Brown emphasizes self-awareness as a foundation of courageous living. Understanding motives and responses is essential to consistent self-prioritization. Letting go of toxic influence. Choosing oneself involves evaluating and releasing toxic relationships. Psychological research shows that sustained exposure to negativity manipulation, or criticism erodes self-efficacy and autonomy. Women who prioritize themselves remove influences that diminish energy, self-esteem, or clarity. Viola Davis and Angela Bassett have discussed the importance of surrounding oneself with uplifting and respectful people. Letting go is an active choice to protect emotional space, maintain standards, and reinforce self-prioritization. Celebrating autonomy and growth. Finally, the psychology of choosing oneself is reinforced through acknowledgement of progress. Celebrating autonomy, emotional strength, and deliberate decisions reinforces self-efficacy. Women must internalize accomplishments and personal growth rather than relying on external validation. Confidence becomes self-sustaining when recognition is internalized, creating a feedback loop that strengthens the habit of prioritizing oneself. Oprah Winfrey and Beyoncé exemplify women who embody this principle. Their choices are deliberate, reflective, and internally validated, radiating authenticity. Choosing oneself is not selfish, it is essential. It requires courage, self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and deliberate action. A woman who chooses herself recognizes patterns and rewrites her story, sets boundaries without guilt, prioritizes her emotional needs and purpose, trusts herself, embraces solitude, and acts with integrity. This choice is psychological mastery. It is the art of valuing your life, your energy, and your future above external pressures or approval. When a woman chooses herself, she does not just glow externally. She radiates strength, authenticity, and empowerment from the inside out. And that is a power no one can take away.